Today we are going to talk about depressive disorder. Depression is a common mental disorder which may make people feel sad, depressed, and in a blue mood. So, here are some symptoms of the depressive disorder.
But why depression is hardly recognized by others? Because depression isn't always obvious. Some people suffer from smiling depression and put on a mask and try to keep their depression in secret. They often appear cheerful, optimistic, successful on the outside, while living with depression on the inside. They're still likely to appear high-functioning and maintain actively in social life, which is why it is hard to spot people suffering from smiling depression. About 1 in 10 people suffer depression. There up to 40% could be suffering from smiling depression. They have a particular high risk of suicide. In fact, individuals with smiling depression want to keep their depression private for 3 major reasons. Firstly, they want to avoid burdening others and make people around them feel worried, especially for those who are used to taking care of others. Secondly, people may have the fear of embarrassment because many people with smiling depression are often perfectionists. They take on heavy responsibility and believe depression is a sign of weakness. Therefore, they may feel embarrassing about suffering depression. Lastly, some people may even deny that they have depression because they don't want to face the facts of the problem and they downplay the possible consequences. So they put on that everything is fine and make people believe that they live normally or even perfectly happy without mental illness.
Now we are going to talk about why depression is hardly recognized by oneself. Patients will just feel sad inside them, but their daily lives won't be affected. It will remain for a long time, and at last, the depressed feeling will grab hold of the patient without being noticed. One more thing is that the patient will think that the depressed feeling is just like a mask to hide their feelings, whereas they are having depression. They are also high achievers, as they will transfer their depressed feeling into their motivation to work, and as they are high achievers, they can hardly find out that they are having depression. Ignore the seriousness of depression. They will think that it's actually normal to be depressed sometimes, and some people will feel ashamed by their depressed feelings. Unlike other illness, people will not actually think that they are being depressed. Instead, they'll just fake it and think that they are not being depressed.
So, how can we be more sensitive toward the symptom of depression? First, we can write diary to record our emotion and mental condition. Next, we can spend more time to get along and talk with our friends. Don't isolate yourself or others. When your friends have negative emotion and thought, try to show your empathy and understand their problem. Support and encouragement are important for potential patients. Moreover, you can actively understand whether people around you have negative feeling. Can you think of other ways to recognize depression better? More sensitive to others and your emotion. Bye-bye.